35 IELTS phrases. Hi there. In this video, we're going to look at 35 phrases you can use in your IELTS writing. Then I'll give you some advice as to where you can use them, where you can't use them, why you should, why you shouldn't, because I'll explain in part 2, they can be quite dangerous. And then at the end of the video, I'll show you how to use them, like as in examples. I'll give you examples where together we answer IELTS writing task 2 questions. And by the way, these phrases are available in a PDF. Just follow the link in the description. The first batch of phrases we can use in our IELTS essay are related to stating the focus of the essay. So obviously we're going to use these in the introduction. And here they are. The central thesis of this essay is that, or the main topics covered in this essay are, the main issues covered in this essay are. So you can see all we have to do is make each sentence relevant. This essay argues that global warming is a serious threat to the industrialized world. Okay, this essay has 3 key aims. Firstly, to discuss the impact of global warming, the costs involved, and finally, what actions need to be taken. These ones, because it's like the beginning of the sentence and we just have to fill in the middle, they're slightly more easier to use than other ones. However, they are still useful. Of course, you only need to master 2 or 3, but here what I would recommend is just choose which 2 or 3 you want to use and start sort of like mastering that sentence. Okay, obviously, like I said before, we have to do this with caution. I'll explain this more in the second part, like the dangers involved and why you need to use them with caution and use them with intelligence, of course, as well. So the aim of this essay is to discuss some of the prominent issues related to employment and gender equality in the workplace, Next one, stating the focus of the paragraph. Obviously, we're going to use these more in our body paragraphs. I'm not a big fan of these personally. With the writing system I developed with the online course, we don't really use these ones. We use phrases similar but stronger ones. However, if you do need phrases to state the focus of the paragraph, these are quite useful. These are more my style. These are more my favorites. I prefer using these ones because this is more related to academic writing, which is our objective when we're writing in IELTS task 2. And these phrases kind of force you to write in an academic style. Okay, so they force you to back up your claims, which is exactly what you need to be doing if you're writing academically. You need to be making claims, you need to be arguing, and you need to be strong in your communication and persuasive as well. This is like the heart of academic writing, especially with your IELTS essay. So these sentences force that. That's why I like them. I love this one especially. I mean, how many times have you heard the word historically? Probably not that often. And this is the kind of style that I aim for my students to be writing. This is what I want them to aim for. Just writing with a little bit of flair, a little bit of just a little bit of flair, that's all. So, historically, research investigating the factors associated with global warming has focused on carbon emissions and pollution. I don't know, okay? But it's easy, you just fill in the blanks. Now, also, we've got to use these with caution, okay? For many years, this phenomenon was surprisingly neglected by government employers. So here we can't just directly copy paste the topic. We need to put a little bit of thinking into this, and we also need to adapt the sentences, which is what I'm going to go into more detail, and especially at the end of the video I'll give you examples. An important point to consider when you are using these sentences, you have to bend the sentence for the purpose of the essay, for your position of the essay. Do not bend and mold your essay or your argument to fit in with the sentence. It's the other way around, and this is really important because you can make it much more complex if you and much more incoherent and harder to understand if you start bending your argument to fit in with the sentence. Then it just gets really unclear and it's not enjoyable to read. So more, backing up your claims with evidence from a historical perspective. Several lines of evidence. This one was one of my favorites as well. I'm going to highlight it and send it to a student. But if you can start incorporating this into your writing, several lines of evidence suggest that global warming is a serious event that is going to impact the lives of many generations to come. You know, something like that. But several lines of evidence. It's another phrase that you probably haven't heard of. It's not that common, and it just shows the examiner you've got you've got more style, and it's still academic, and you're just showing you're a higher level writer. Okay, but once again, we're only going to use it where it's relevant. Okay. Data from several studies suggest that it is now established from a variety of studies that global warming is increasing, etc. So they can be quite easy to use. That's why I focused on these ones. They can be quite easy to use, but there is a warning. We must use them with caution. Now, the reason why we should use them with caution is that we should use them sparingly. We should use them with caution because they can mess up your essay if you're not using them correctly. And if you've got a very low level, then use them much more often. But what I recommend is that you use them, you get feedback on how to use them, and also you master a few of them. Okay, master a few of them, and then you can start playing with it, which is what I'll show you at the end of the video. Okay, so the analogy I've put here is like the crutches. Okay, crutches are those pieces of wood or metal that you put under your armpits. They're really long, and you use them to support yourself when you're walking if you've got a broken leg. So they'll help you get from point A to point B, but you're not going to get much stronger, especially if you rely on them for a long time. And the worst way you can use them is in sentences like these. I hate these. I hate these sentences. This is how politicians speak. They say a lot of different words, but there's nothing there. There's no substance. And if you write like this in your essay, you're going to get crucified. You're going to get murdered by the examiner. That's just a figure of speech, by the way. But you're not going to impress any examiner if you're writing like this. Okay, it's just garbage. It's empty. I could put this into an essay about global warming, about gender equality, about crime in major cities, and it is kind of relevant in a very, very mild and weak way. But the examiners know this is a copy-paste sentence. So this is why you should use them with caution, these sentences that I'm giving you. And most importantly, you should adapt these sentences to your essay. Obviously, in these cases, it's clear that you need to adapt them. But we master them, we adapt them, and we kind of just like start playing and manipulating them. I'll give you an example. All right. So we've got this question here. This was a recent task 2 question. So some people spend a lot of money attending cultural or sports events. Is it a good or bad thing? Give your opinion and examples from your own experience. Okay. So let's see. This is the copy-paste sentence. All right. I have adapted it to my introduction. I haven't just started off with the aim of this essay. Now, I put my the first sentence of my introduction here. Then I'll use this sentence my second sentence, but I've adapted it, okay? And also it's all coherent. I've started off with both sporting events, cultural activities, okay? And here I'm talking about viewpoints. So I'm going to mention two different viewpoints. Second thing is I'm rephrasing the question. We can use synonyms. Sometimes it's not easy to find synonyms, in which case maybe we can just change the word, okay? We can modify it to a certain extent, okay? Here I said cultural activities instead of cultural events, put sporting events instead of sports events. Roughly, they mean very similar, okay? Here, spending a lot of money, I put increasingly expensive, you see? Buyers I used instead of some people. So this is what you want to be aiming for with your writing, okay? Undeterred by the high prices. It's basically saying something very similar. Undeterred means that they're not phased, that they're still going to do it, okay? I don't care what you say, I'm still going to do it. So here I'm kind of rephrasing everything what's said here, and I'm giving an indication as to where my essay is going to go as well. So also I'm continuing using synonyms. Expenditure, spending a lot of money, you see? Person for certain people instead of some people. I'm continuing. I'm trying to avoid using words from the question, okay? Now, going back to using these sentences, because I'm using this sentence, I'm going to put in viewpoints, or better still, because I'm going to write two different viewpoints in my essay, I'm going to use this sentence, all right? So this goes back to what I was saying before about we use the phrases that are suitable for our essay, and we don't adapt our essay to make it suitable for the phrases, okay? And likewise, this just shows you the versatility. I could copy paste this sentence, I could copy paste this one. Now, because I've put compare there, I have to be aware that I should be comparing the two viewpoints, okay? Here, I've got a little bit more flexibility, but this just goes back to we should use these sentences with caution and use them when they're most appropriate. Now, my favorite, previous research from a historical perspective, okay? So here I use this sentence, over the past decade, most research in consumer spending and leisure activities, which is basically this, people spending a lot of money on cultural or sports events, has emphasized the health benefits derived from watching famous sports stars or singers perform their trade. Now, that's good. That's a good sentence because it's pushing me to making my claim, it's pushing me into giving evidence, and also here, consumer spending, I've made it green because it's topic-specific vocabulary. We get points for this. We're only going to see this type of vocabulary in an essay about cultural or sports events, most likely, okay? Consumer spending and leisure activities. We're not going to see it in an essay about global warming or in a question related to crime, okay? So, has emphasized the health benefits derived. Could you incorporate that word into your essay? If you can, it's fantastic. You're on the right track from watching famous sports stars or singers perform their trade. Okay, so there you can see, I had to adapt that sentence. I had to chop off the end, okay? Has emphasized the health benefits. I couldn't say has emphasized the use of health benefits. That's just ridiculous. So be careful. If you're using these phrases, adapt them to your essay if you need to. Sometimes you can just copy paste directly like you've seen before. Other times you need to adapt them. Now, let's have a look at a different question, and I'll go into more detail about the introduction and the body paragraphs. So here I've used this phrase. Actually, let's look at the question. Government should provide 24/7 free public transportation to reduce traffic congestion. Do you agree or disagree? My copy-paste sentence: over the past few decades, major advances in something have allowed something. Okay? So once again, I had to chop off allowed to make it... Oh no, I didn't actually. I kept this one on. I thought I did. Still there from my notes. So, over the past few decades, major advances in the study of traffic have allowed governments to conclude that the flow of traffic in a city has an impact on productivity and wealth generated. Have permitted, have forced governments. There's lots of different versions there we could have used. So here I did manage to copy paste it, but I still made it relevant by inserting the appropriate vocabulary, which is what you should be aiming for too. Now I finally get to use my let's see, I finally get to use my historically sentence. So we've got it here. Historically, research investigating the factors associated with congested cities has, and I had to delete focused and I substituted it for covered, okay, has covered issues such as pollution, safety and the costs. Okay, that's a bit mixed up. Anyway, these ones should have been at the beginning. Let's see. There we go. That's better. So here I'm using similar sentences. This essay compares the two different viewpoints. Review different viewpoints. Once again, I'm using public sector transportation. I'm using topic-specific vocabulary. I'm using words that are higher level. Yeah. How many times do you hear complex in everyday speech? Not very often. I'm using synonyms. Around-the-clock transport instead of 24/7. So this is what you should be aiming for. As I said before, if you're going for a band 7 or above. Now, so like I said, use these sentences with caution. If you like writing like this, if you like using like copy-paste structures, or if you like writing with more guidance and clarity, then you'd probably love the sentence guide course, because we've just got, I mean, it's not so copy-paste like this where you just put in the topics, but it's very similar, and it just makes the whole process straightforward. And of course you're getting feedback, so you're not making major mistakes, or if you are making mistakes, you're getting feedback, so you're not making them again. So it's a way to improve very quickly. Now, if you want all these phrases that I mentioned, I'll put them in a PDF, and I'll put a link to the PDF in the description. So yeah, that's it from me for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any suggestions, please leave them in the comments, and all the best